So, just a little bit more on my fantasy thing. Dementus the Grey, or Dementus the Wise. Um, the way I would do this, I guess, Wasteland movie would be Max exploring the Wastelands, but there would be this, because there's this whole thing that Dementus's gang, the guys that roll with him, are from all over the Wasteland, meaning that he created a cult following, so there would be multiple tribes and groups all over the Wasteland that were familiar with Dementus, but they did not know Furiosa. And this would kind of put Dementus in a position of being like an ambassador. The rich fucks, maybe the rich fucks from the island would be crossing the salt flats to invade. They'd be like murdering people, and the whole thing is they would have overwhelming force. They'd be like a massive military operation, just money and power, murdering everybody in the wasteland. Arguing that their brutality is somehow bringing order. They're bringing order to the wasteland when they're just bringing brutality. Murdering every adult man and woman, and then enslaving the kids would be their thing as they move across the wasteland. So the remaining tribes and shit would basically be, it would be a scatter of just chaotic mass slaughter in the wastelands, and this would be happening as Max made his way through the wasteland. And then, once again, the whole thing with Dementus getting chelation therapy and getting the tree ripped out of his crotch. And he would be Dementus the Wise because he's made all the mistakes. Like in the first movie, he shot his own guys, he betrayed everybody. Everybody didn't like the way he went about doing things. So he would be Dementus the Wise. He would be, the old man Dementus, who knows better because he made all the mistakes to begin with. This would be, I think, a really integral part to full circle his story. And Dementus would be the man cursed with never getting a fair shot or never getting what he wanted. So even at the end of this, when I was talking about the revenge arc, he wants to go, and you need to remember when you're writing your revenge stories, revenge is a miserable task carried out by miserable people. Okay, revenge is a miserable task carried out by a miserable person. The person has to be miserable. Okay, Furiosa's demented hatred, this would be a good one. Dementus, all of his nonsense, he's a great tactician. We learned that in the Furiosa movie. And what would happen is he would know the tactics, because he's from the island. He would know the tactics of the people invading. Yeah. And he would basically plan around their plan. Same way this church that harasses me has me under surveillance so they can plan around my plan. Because that's how that works with fascists. So Dementus would be the only one capable of planning around their plan. And Furiosa, because she hates him and she wants to spite him and she wants to teach him a lesson, would ignore his plans. And she would openly work against them. Getting people killed. Getting hundreds of thousands of people killed and people not liking her. And then she would continuously do this through the movie. Getting people killed to teach Dementus a lesson, and then never admitting that she's doing wrong. That would be the big part of her mind, is never admitting what she did was wrong. And the whole thing would be Dementus being like, I know from seeing them in the way they're lining up. Ask the history man. The history man knows. Like, and it would be her just ignoring him until it gets so painful and everything gets so fucking bad. She has to fucking let him, I'm not going to say lead, but put together the plans. But it would be her ignoring him and getting people killed. And it would be like her being like, looking at the battlefield, and Dementus would be like, I've seen this one. Ho, ho, ho. Like, this tactic is the blah, blah, blah. And, fucking Furiosa being like, oh, they're not going to do that. They don't have those. I would do an entire scene where these people have airplanes, because you don't really see airplanes in Mad Max, but the invading force from the island would seem like a small force, and then Furiosa would have a massive, overwhelming army and just be like, cocky and arrogant. We're gonna invade them and murder them and take their encampment. And Dementus would be like, that's bait. Like, like, and she'd be like, no, it's not. And then they would invade it, and then there would be an airstrike that happened that just completely slaughtered all of her forces because she put them out in the open where they were unprotected by invading them. And that would be the thing, is Dementus would just constantly be right, and Furiosa would just be like, and she would have the wives with her, and the wives would kind of be like the voices of reason to some extent. They'd be like, Furiosa, you need to stop, basically. Like, he's been right every time, and they just, no, he can't be right. Trust me, I've dealt with this my entire life. I've been right about everything, and fucking everybody just goes, no! Like, it's like as if denying that I'm right is somehow changing reality. That would be funny to see on screen, Furiosa doing that shit, because all she wants to do is stick it to Dementus. Max is a great deuteragonist, so he would just be the adventurer you follow through this mayhem. The wars, the battles, sometimes he'd be in the front, sometimes he'd be in the back, sometimes he'd be on the side. Like, he would be the one. Max should be the one that discovers the island people, the rich people from the island, are now invading. And the way the island people, even the rich people on the island, made their forces would be through inbred reproduction. So you're talking about the biggest freaks that are moderately fucking, autistic and completely removed from reality. The biggest assholes who go on about strength, even though they've lived easy lives. And I would get to the point that you'd have like a really huge guy, like a really jacked dude, just real beast mode, dude that gets hit one time and he's never experienced pain, so he just crumbles, he just buckles over and starts crying because he's never experienced real adversity. You could bring back Rectus, I think, because he died in Mad Max Fury Road, or maybe the War Boys begin worshipping him, and he's not a great leader because he's a man-child, or he is a great leader because he's a man-child. I don't know. I think that would be pretty cool, because you'd have War Boys that, Rectus the Strong or some crap like that, whatever, man, testosterone, and he would be one of the war parties Furiosa would have to recruit. I don't know about the other people, like the Buzzards, they would be a war party Furiosa would need to recruit. This is all diplomacy, so you'd probably have to sponge over this by having, like, Pirates of the Caribbean meeting of the lords. This is madness, this is politics. Like, Furiosa would have the crippled Dementus the Wise sitting at the table, continuously offering his 2 cents. And you can't just have him offer it, he would have to say things in the Dementus way. He'd be like, broad fields and open airways is a great way to cover things, in his grandiose, weird, demented way. And ultimately, the turning point in the movie would character growth and development. Furiosa just accepting what happened, accepting that Dementus can't fix anything. He doesn't have those abilities. He doesn't have those skills. He can't resurrect her mother. He can't do any of those things, and he's just a miserable fuck that got in way over his head. I think that this could all work out really well, especially with George Miller's extreme creativity when it comes to the war machines in the desert. And a bunch of V8 cars taking on a full-fledged, like, clean military coming in from the north. Maybe the rich people's colors could be red. Their vehicles could be red. That would be pretty cool, I think. But the ultimate battle for the Wastelands, I think, would be the the best way to go about it. The ultimate battle for the Wastelands. And it would be a kind of this would be the best thing ever. Is after everything's said and done, Dementus is dead. Furiosa fights their way to the island, and when they get there, they find out the reason why all the rich people were invading is they ran out of resources. So the island has no resources. There's nothing there. It's just empty and hollow. Even the people that were the rich fucks that were there, or their thing would be promising lies. They would be promising a better life, a higher self, superior psychology. They'd be promising water and things they don't have. Things they don't have. It would be all lies. And I think it would be funny to end the movie with, I guess, like Max sitting on the beach eating a coconut. Like, he just cracks open a coconut, he's drinking the water, the coconut juice, and then eating the meat of the coconut. That would be good. I like the Milk Mothers, but I don't think they're gonna be a thing. I mean, they might still be a thing. I mean, they could be their own enterprise. Mother's Milk, the company, like they've gone into business for themselves and continued producing milk, but this time they're actually paid for it. They're not enslaved. You know, that's the thing with the sex trade in America, and the reason why this church I talk about is a human trafficking ring. It's because they can't get laid. They're emotionally stunted, and the only way they know how to take things is through force. If we legalize brothels in America, human trafficking wouldn't need to be a thing, okay? The same way if we legalize drugs, we wouldn't be putting people in prison for addiction, and addiction's a mental illness. This is a common sense fucking fix, okay? This is what I would have done had I had power, but I don't. Everybody likes working against me, just like Dementus. And just like Dementus, he comes so close to making it, but then he just doesn't. And he doesn't because people work against him. And I would love even his death to be an empty one. His life is, he would leave something to the history man about how to fix the wasteland, just how to solve every problem in the wasteland. And Furiosa's spiteful behavior, she would just undermine it and go, we're not doing it. We're not. And then Dementus wouldn't even get a burial. He would just be a corpse left out there, even though it was his genius, it was his battle tactics, it was everything he did that got them as far as it did. It was everything he did to bring down the invaders, and he was no credit at all. He just fucking die. Like, I can see a lot of myself in it, you know. Totally. Yeah. I don't know. You guys Mad Max heads? What do you think? Just my fan theory story.